I was late. 15 minutes late for the first photography class I'd ever taken in my entire life. My daughter, Rachel, had given me the course as a 60th birthday present, along with a lecture about how I needed a hobby besides fixing things in the garage and watching history documentaries. "Dad, you always loved taking pictures when we were kids," she had said. "Maybe it's time to take it seriously." So there I was, James Peterson, retired accountant and widower of 3 years, hurrying into a downtown photography studio, mumbling apologies as I searched for an empty chair. The instructor, a young woman with purple hair and multiple piercings, just nodded in my direction and kept explaining something about aperture and shutter speed. That's when I saw her, sitting in the second row, with an old Canon camera hanging from her neck, taking meticulous notes in a worn leather notebook. Her hair, once dark brown, now had silver strands that shone under the studio lights. She wore reading glasses she hadn't used before, but the posture, the slight frown when she concentrated, the gesture of twirling a lock of hair around her finger while thinking everything was exactly as I remembered. "Rebecca," the word escaped before I could think. She turned sharply, and our eyes met. I saw shock, confusion, and then recognition sweep across her face like waves. James Peterson." The instructor stopped talking and looked at us with an amused expression. "You two know each other?" "We used to," Rebecca said softly, her eyes still on mine. "A long time ago, 41 years, I said, still standing in the aisle like an idiot. "Since college," the instructor smiled. "What a lovely coincidence. James, why don't you sit there next to Rebecca? It looks like you two have a lot to catch up on after class." I sat in the empty chair beside her, my heart pounding as if I had run a marathon. Up close, I could see the fine lines around her eyes, the skin a little looser at her neck, the hands I had once known so well now showing signs of arthritis. But her eyes, those gray-green eyes that had made me write terrible poetry at 22, were exactly the same. "Hi," she whispered as the instructor resumed the lesson. "Hi," I whispered back. We spent the next 45 minutes pretending to pay attention to the class while our minds were clearly somewhere else. I kept catching her looking at me, and whenever our eyes met, we both looked away quickly like embarrassed teenagers. It was ridiculous and sweet at the same time. When the class finally ended and the instructor gave us our first assignment, photograph something that represents memory, Rebecca and I stayed seated while everyone else left. "Coffee?" I finally asked. "Desperately," she replied. We ended up in an artisanal coffee shop down the street, sitting in worn leather armchairs near the window, each holding a cup of coffee as if it were a lifeline. "You're beautiful," I said, because it was true and because I didn't know how to begin. "I'm 61 and my body is falling apart, but thank you." She smiled, and that smile still had the power to make my stomach flip. "You look good too, distinguished. I always thought you'd age well." "I thought about you," I said suddenly, "over the years. I wondered where you were, what you were doing, if you were happy. I thought about you too." She stirred her coffee, thoughtful, especially at strange moments, when I saw a beautiful sunset, or heard jazz, or walked past a library. Things we used to do together. Why did we break up? "Rebecca, I honestly can't remember anymore. It seemed so important at the time, but now, because we were young and stupid and thought we had all the time in the world." She removed her glasses and rubbed her tired eyes. "You got that job offer in Seattle. I had just started my master's here, and neither of us was willing to compromise, to sacrifice. We thought that if it were true love, it would be easy. We didn't realize that true love sometimes means it's hard, but you fight anyway." "I should have fought," I said. "I should have asked you to come with me, or stayed here or found a solution, but I just let it go." We both let it go. "James, it wasn't only you." We fell silent for a moment, 41 years of life not lived together weighing between us. Did you get married? She asked gently. Yes, to Margaret. I met her in Seattle. Married at 29, we had 2 wonderful daughters. My voice grew thicker. She passed away 3 years ago. Brain aneurysm. It was very quick. Oh, James. I'm so sorry. Thank you. It was hard. Still is. Some days. But Margaret was an amazing wife. A wonderful mother. We had a good life. And did you love her? The question was direct but not accusatory. Just curious. Yes, very much. But I hesitated, unsure if I should continue. But it wasn't like we were, she finished softly. No, it was different, more mature, more stable. But it didn't have that intensity, that fire I'm married to, Rebecca said at 33. Thomas was a history teacher, like me. We had a son, Andrew. We divorced when Andrew was 15. It was amicable. We just realized we were better friends than husband and wife. Are you alone now? Yes, 12 years. A few dates here and there, but nothing serious. I think I stopped looking after a while. She looked at me. And you? 3 years is enough time. Are you looking? I wasn't. My daughters are always trying to set me up on dating apps, but the idea of swiping through pictures of strangers exhausts me. I laughed humorlessly. Rachel gave me this photography course hoping I'd meet people, but I really just wanted to learn to use the camera properly. I signed up for similar reasons. Andrew gave me a camera last Christmas and suggested I find a hobby besides grading papers and reading. She smiled. We're a sad pair, aren't we? Our children trying to make us have lives. Maybe they're right. Maybe we finished our coffee and walked slowly back to the parking lot. It was a clear autumn afternoon, the kind of day Rebecca had always loved. I remembered how she used to drag me outside on days like that, insisting it was a crime to stay indoors when the world was so beautiful. Do you still do that? I asked suddenly. Do what? Go out to photograph sunsets. You always said every sunset was unique and deserved to be witnessed. She stopped walking and looked at me with an expression I couldn't decipher. No, I stopped doing that years ago. I don't know when or why, but I just stopped. Our assignment is to photograph something that represents memory, I said, my heart beating hard. How about we photograph the sunset together like we used to, James, just as old friends? No pressure, no expectations. Just a photography students doing an assignment. I paused. But honestly, Rebecca, sitting with you in that cafe was the first time in 3 years I haven't felt completely lost. And I'd love to spend more time with you, if you're willing. She bit her lower lip, a habit I remembered from when she was considering something serious. Tomorrow night, at the old Overlook near campus, if it still exists. It still exists. I checked on Google Maps when I started having nostalgia crises about college. I smiled. 7 o'clock the next day. I arrived 15 minutes early. Something rare for me. Rebecca was already there, sitting on a bench with her camera in her lap, looking at the horizon where the sun had begun its descent. You came early, I said, sitting beside her. So did you. I was nervous. It felt like a date. Is it a date? She asked, turning to me. I'd like it to be. If you want it to be. She smiled, and it was the smile I remembered from our 20s, full of possibilities. Yes, I'd like that. We spent the next hour photographing the sunset from different angles, talking between clicks, laughing at our amateur attempts to capture the light. But more than the photos, we were capturing something else. Something we had lost long ago and was slowly rediscovering. Why do you think we found each other now? Rebecca asked when the sun finally disappeared, leaving the sky painted pink and orange. After all these years, I don't know. Maybe because now we're ready. In our 20s, we were too selfish, too focused on our own paths now. I paused. Now I know the value of connection, of companionship, of having someone who truly sees me and you see me, even after 41 years. I see you, Rebecca, not the 20-year-old girl you were, but the 61-year-old woman you are, and she's even more incredible." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "I'm so afraid, James. Afraid this is just nostalgia. Afraid we'll hurt each other again. Afraid we're not compatible as older adults. I'm afraid to, but do you know what scares me more? The idea of letting you go a second time." She took my hand, and our fingers intertwined naturally, as if they had never forgotten how. "Then don't let me go. Never again." In the following weeks, the photography class became the best part of our weeks. We did our assignments together, exploring the city with our cameras, seeing the world through new lenses, literally and figuratively. Rebecca taught me to pay attention to details I had always ignored, to find beauty in unexpected places. I taught her to be more spontaneous, to trust her instinct instead of overthinking every shot. But more than photography, we were learning each other again. I discovered she had developed a love for gardening and Thai cooking. She discovered I had become obsessed with chess and woodworking. We shared stories about our children, our marriages, our losses and joys. And slowly, something new began to grow between us, built not on the memories of who we had been, but on the reality of who we were. One night, 2 months after that first reunion, we were in my backyard photographing the stars when she lowered her camera and looked at me. "I love you," she said simply. Not the 22-year-old boy I met. The 60-year-old man standing in front of me now. The man who makes me want to photograph sunsets again, who makes me laugh, who truly sees me. My heart was so full it hurt. "I love you too. And this time, Rebecca, I'm going to fight, no matter what happens. I'm not just going to let go. Neither will I." We kissed under the stars. Two people who had lived entire lives apart, finding their way back to each other. It wasn't the passionate, desperate kiss of young lovers. It was something deeper, more conscious, tempered by loss and maturity and gratitude for a second chance. 6 months later, I introduced Rebecca to my daughters at a Sunday dinner. Rachel pulled me aside in the kitchen while Rebecca talked with my youngest daughter. "Sophie, are you happy, Dad?" Rachel asked. "Truly happy." I looked through the doorway at Rebecca laughing with Sophie, her eyes shining, and I smiled. "Yes, sweetheart. Happy in a way I didn't know was still possible, so it was worth it. The photography course, more than you can imagine." "Thank you, Rachel, for pushing me out of the garage." She hugged me tightly. "Mom would be happy for you. You know, she wouldn't want you to be alone." And she was right. Margaret would have liked Rebecca. She always said I needed someone who challenged me, who made me see the world differently. And Rebecca did exactly that. A year after our reunion, we had our first joint photography exhibit in a small local gallery. Titled Rediscovery, it featured photos we had taken together over the year, each telling a story of connection, of seeing the world with renewed eyes, of finding beauty in unexpected places. On opening night, surrounded by family and friends, Rebecca and I stood before our favorite photo, a self-portrait we had taken at the overlook where we watched the sunset that first night. In it we were in profile looking toward the horizon, our silhouettes outlined against the blazing sky, our hands intertwined. "Do you know what this photo represents to me?" Rebecca said softly. "What?" "Memory, present, future, all at the same time. The perfect assignment," I said, kissing her temple. "The perfect life," she corrected. And as we stood there, surrounded by images that captured our journey back to each other, I realized she was right. It wasn't perfect in the sense of flawless, but perfect in the sense that it was ours, authentic, real. Sometimes life gives us second chances when we least expect them, and sometimes those second chances are even better than the first, because they come with wisdom, with perspective, with the knowledge of how precious and rare it is to find someone who truly sees you. Rebecca saw me at 22, and she sees me at 60, and this time, I'm not letting go. This time we're staying.